Hey, welcome back. Once again, I've got another GPU related video for you guys, and this one is all Team Red, so AMD. I had this 12 card rig stable for about a year on Ethereum. I really liked it. Team Red R mode came out about a year ago, and then they refined it once again about 4 months ago. I kept dropping power and gaining hash rate. So those OCs ended up changing a little bit. And they started introducing the use of the SoC frequency and the SoC VDD max. What I've noticed though is since the merge happened about a week ago now, I couldn't get any other coin except ETC working on this rig. It would boot just fine, but I'd end up getting that dreaded red message up here, just like Panda posted today, GPU detected dead. So I really didn't want these cards to sit idle. And what I did this weekend is I took out my test bench, I shut down this rig, and I started pulling each one of these cards one by one. And as you can see, I've got pretty much every Navi 2 variant card in this rig. So I was able to do everything from 6600, 6600 XT, 6700 XT, 6800 Vanilla, 6800 XT, and 6900 XT, which I have two of in here. I was able to pull those one by one, put them in the test bench, and get some results. So I'm going to share my OCs with you today, and I just have to say, especially with this latest LOL miner update for FLUX, these cards rock. Right after the merge, I got a little bit disheartened again, and AMD is, OCing these cards is not for the faint of heart. It's not easy, but once you nail the OC, they are rock solid, and they are the king of efficiency when it comes to a couple of algorithms. So I've found out that these Navi 2 cards not only are awesome on ETH, they're the most efficient on ETH, they're also the best for Progpow and Kawpow, so that's things like Ravencoin, Firo, Ciro, and Neoxa. But it turns out that they're almost RTX 20 series efficient for FLUX as well with this latest LOL miner update, which is amazing. You're looking at this rig right now on FLUX, and this rig is drawing, I'll show you actual PMD ratings in my spreadsheet in a second here, but I'm going to pull up my power meter. This rig is drawing, waiting for this to refresh, 776 plus 310, so it's drawing just over 1,000 watts. So this, I have the in settings on HiveOS. If you guys don't know this, you can actually come in and enter your power supply efficiency and your motherboard overhead wattage, and I just tweaked that so it's close. The numbers aren't right, but they make the overall software reported number pretty close, because AMD, although it's a little bit better on these altcoins as far as reporting accurately, they report less. They seem to report the software wattage at the PCIe connectors, but not at the actual slot. So it kind of ignores that 15 or 20 watts that's coming out of the slot. Anyway, I digress. This is still a lot. So that's 400 souls-ish for about 1,000 watts at the wall. And these are gold-rated power supplies I'm using on 240 volts, just ATX power supplies, full single B250 12 GPU China motherboard. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into it. So here are my FLUX hash rates, and let's go over to the OCs. So right here, and feel free to just pause the video at any point, but here is my very sophisticated spreadsheet, and this tells you what I was benchmarking. So this RX 6600 is a Hynix card. If you have a Samsung or a Micron card, your OCs are going to vary a little bit. You're probably going to need a little bit more MEM VDD, and you might need to actually start using the SoC V. However, I would start with this because I do have these OCs running on a Micron card as well, which I can show you if I go over to Garage Rig. So here's a Micron card, and all I had to do is up the MVDD a little bit, and it's still pretty good. The Micron cards are not as good as the Hynix cards for efficiency, but the memory is a little punchier. Same thing with Samsung, which is just completely backward. The 6600s are kind of bastards, but really great cards. And you can see the efficiencies here. So the 6600 isn't king here. The 6600 XT actually is. No, I'm sorry. The 6900 XT is the king on FLUX. I do have this is a reference card, and then this is my Phantom Gaming. I think my Phantom Gaming is a particularly bad bin. This is a really early card, and there's just something with, I've noticed this even on the NVIDIA cards, when you have a GPU that has 3 power connectors, it tends to be not as efficient. So the cards with the lower total board power just seem to be able to get to lower power levels, and I don't know if that's just overhead from VRMs or if it's bigger fans or exactly what, but still a really good card. I mean, I'm seeing 0.41 efficiency. This is PMD power, so this was actually measured 12 volts out of the card, no additional messing around like that. That's real power. And then this was hash rate observed in the miner after, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. But the rig that all these came out of, and they're all back in now. If I go back to R9LR, this rig has been up for 10 hours, so all good. The OCs are fine. If you key in these OCs and they don't work for you, I would suggest basically starting with upping MVDD a little bit, or if you have a value input for SOCV, up that too. Another thing you can try is just completely erasing these two fields, so SOC frequency and SOC voltage, and just try with all these numbers input. Sometimes when you clamp down the SOC voltage, this is kind of like the last step in my opinion, and that really will get you a long way when it comes to power, but the SOC voltage and the MVDD are definitely the biggest, like, the biggest things you can do to shave the power once your OCs are nailed. So your core stability, obviously these two things are going to matter a lot. MVDD CI, honestly, that's usually really consistent on the card. This Phantom Gaming is a total outlier. This card just needs a crap load of memory controller voltage. I don't know why. But as far as like reference cards and Hynix 6600s, this is a Samsung 6600 XT, and the rest of these here are Samsung. 6700s, you can get Micron cards. You're going to need more MVDD there. But 6800s, all Navi 21s use Samsung memory, so those OCs should actually be pretty close for you. Ergo up here, this took me the longest. I really figured that Ergo was going to be the most similar to Ethereum. Turns out not the case at all, and this needed more SOC on a couple of these cards than any other algorithm. So just a couple notes here just for myself, and I shared this with some local friends, but these OCs are also stable. I tested those for quite a while. Here we have Progpow and Kawpow on these same cards. So again, pause the video if you want these OCs just as a starting point. They may not work for your cards, but at least it's a starting point. And full shout out to Kiwi Crypto, that New Zealander. He was shared by Red Panda and Seb. I took some inspiration and some starting points from his OCs. A lot of them did not work for my cards, and I ended up having to go with a little bit higher values just to get them stable. But these values I do feel like are a little more universal, so you could key them into your card and it's more likely that these are just going to work right out of the box, or at least not crash instantly, so you can start to figure out what's crashing it, and you can get your OCs working. I also keyed in Kaspa, which is Heavyhash. This is a coin that kind of comes and goes from profitability. Almost everything's at a loss right now, but I did want to key this in there because it's an up-and-comer and it's a different algorithm. So any Heavyhash coin, Kaspa works really well, very low power. It also works really well on the RTX cards. So I mean, this isn't necessarily a standout for RDNA 2, but it's in here. So FLUX is really good. Progpow and Kawpow are really good. Ergo, whatever. I maybe stick to NVIDIA on Ergo, but these two algorithms right here are awesome. So I've been leaving all my RDNA 2 cards on FLUX, and really they are phenomenal at FLUX. And this is finally an opportunity for the Navi 21, and especially the 6900 XTs, to flex their muscles. So almost 50 souls at 102 watts at the wall is insane. When I was PMDing these, I will say that all of the algorithms, the power fluctuates like crazy. It's almost like watching the LHR unlocker on an RTX card, where you get like 2 or 3 power values and you got an average it. But I did do the best I could on taking the average for the real power, and these cards are incredible. So shout out to LollyDeb with LolMiner. This latest update, Mini-Z does support some AMD cards, and we'll see how that ends up going. But they don't currently support the 6600 XT or the 6600, so I would stay away from Mini-Z for AMD right now. Still the best miner for NVIDIA for FLUX. Everything else that was tested here was using R mode. So if you don't know what that is, on Team Red Miner, and of course I'm in the wrong thing here, but in your flight sheet, when you have Team Red Miner here, you're going to need kernel VM mode RR. You'll find that on the FAQ on Team Red Miner, but make sure that's keyed in. All the other results here in the spreadsheet, except for FLUX, so Kawpow, actually no, FLUX and Kaspa don't use this, but Kawpow, Ergo, and ETC, and I don't have my ETC overclocks here because ETC sucks, but you need to key in kernel VM mode RR. So let me go back to R9LR. If you guys want to see my OCs on these cards for ETHash, here you go. So I know that's not nearly as easy to look at, but these are the OCs for the same 12 cards you saw earlier. So if you're really motivated, you can go take a screenshot of the cards and you can come back here. So I will say 6900 XT Phantom Gaming, 6600s, 6700 XT, I think. Oh yeah, I can just go here. 6700 XT, 6600, 6800 XT, 6600, 6800 non-XT, 6900 XT, 6600 XT, 6700 XT, and 6600 XT. So you can just go down the list right there. If you don't already have OCs that work, these worked very, very well. These were rock solid, but again, kernel VM mode RR and Team Red Miner. If you're using any other miner, you're going to have to up the MVDD and probably core voltage a little bit. These were groomed over the course of about a year, mining Ethereum, and they work great on ETC. I was mining ETC for the first couple days, but the coin is ASIC dominated, so it's just not going to work. If you are in HiveOS and you want to actually start switching your algorithms, make sure you come in here and you turn on auto select algo, and when you have, say for instance you're mining FLUX right now in your main system, you have all your OCs dialed in, come in here and you can hit the little plus button that will show up when you don't have it saved, and that will actually save your OCs for that algorithm. Then you can go over, change your flight sheet to Ergo, you can copy the OCs over while it's running, and then you can hit the plus for Ergo and massage them in here, and it will not change your overclocks for FLUX or any other coin. And when you go to switch your actual algorithm, it will automatically roll over your OCs. So I didn't even realize that was a feature in HiveOS until pretty recently, but that makes it really, really easy. And as long as you don't change the cards in your rig or change the order, boy, that would be bad. So make sure that your rig is set up exactly how you're going to keep it. But this overclocking auto changer is really, really good. If you're moving from like FLUX to Ravencoin, which is LolMiner to Team Red Miner, you will have to probably reboot your rig. It's probably going to crash it because those miners behave very differently. But if I wanted right now to switch to Kaspa, it would just work. It would apply the OCs first, then it would roll the algorithm, and all will be well. But I will say AMD, they make a kick-ass card. The RX 6000 series is phenomenal on some algorithms. It's really not great on a couple others. A good mix of AMD and NVIDIA is fantastic. But I did want to share with you guys my OCs for these altcoins. We're all kind of in the same boat right now where nothing's really profitable. ETH is gone for mining on GPUs, and these are kind of my personal favorite coins right now, so, or at least algorithms. Hopefully that helps a little bit. There's just not much information out there that's very helpful for Navi 2. And I wanted to help support the community that, you know, I've gotten all my information and my starts from. So I hope that was at least a little bit helpful in you getting your AMD Navi 2 rigs back on their feet. If you had any issues like I did, I couldn't get my miners to do anything except ETC after the merge, and it was really frustrating. So there's no better feeling than getting your rig stable on a new coin, new algorithm with new OCs, especially when they're this efficient. So again, I hope that was at least a little bit helpful. Thank you for watching either way, and I will see you guys on the next one.